Hey everybody, thought I would talk for a few minutes today about my Atari Lynx. It's actually an Atari Lynx number 2. So the Atari Lynx 2 was the second version of the Atari Lynx and differs from the first version mostly in just the size and shape. There's some technical differences, but not much. Um, so I got this for my birthday last year. I've wanted one since middle school, and it's pretty cool. Okay, so modifications that I've made to it and maintenance also. When I first got it home from the store, which was Lost Ark Video Games in Greensboro, the buttons didn't work too well. So took it apart, uh, cleaned out all the buttons, cleaned all the terminals, cleaned everything I could. That made it functional again. And pretty soon after, I followed the advice of the internet and I replaced the capacitors in here and also the power regulation circuit. So this thing, got it here in a Ziploc bag, has a 9-volt power adapter. Interestingly, it doesn't run on 9 volts. All the circuitry runs on 5 volts. So when the power comes in, it immediately gets regulated down to 5 volts to run the circuitry. If that voltage regulation circuit ever fails, it'll send 9 volts throughout the motherboard, really, and it can wreck your Lynx pretty badly. So they recommend to go ahead and replace that power circuit. This thing, it's 30 years old. They probably came out, I guess, 1989, and they were out for a few years. So yeah, 30 years. So it's had some wear and tear, but it's not bad. The scratches and such are not bad on this at all. So that was the general maintenance I did. For upgrades, I gave it a new screen. I gave it the BennVenn screen. The old original screen was working fine, but that old technology was never that great to begin with. And so I put a modern screen in there. The first version of the solderless screen, where it just connects with a ribbon cable. There's a single wire that you solder if you want to add brightness control for this version of this screen. And so I did that. I soldered the one wire, and what that does is it changes this backlight button here. Changes the functionality such that pressing it will cycle through various levels of brightness, and if you hold it down, it will add scan lines. Just for fun. Turns out I don't like the scan lines as much as I thought I would. But it's a nice option to have. The new version of the solderless screen makes use of the original brightness control, which is up here on top, which would be really cool. I kind of regret not waiting for that one, but you never know what the next version is going to do. And so that's the feature that's built into the new versions of the screen. I didn't get that, so I control my brightness down here with this button. Works great though, and I leave it at full brightness anyway. That's the way I like it. I put the new screen in there. That's just makes a world of difference. Very nice. I upgraded the speaker. The original speaker on the Lynx, even according to the documentation, the in-house documentation for EPYX, which is the company that designed the Lynx before Atari bought the rights to it. That original documentation specifies that they should basically use the cheapest speaker they could use. They wanted it to be functional, but even more than that, they wanted it to be cheap. And so what was in here was just a plain basic paper cone speaker. And after 30 years, this the speaker deteriorates. It's not that great anymore. So I went with the Best Electronics speaker. Best Electronics is a company out in California. They bought up a couple Atari warehouses full of Atari parts many years ago when Atari was having financial trouble. And so now they're selling all those parts and have been for many years. But some things they upgrade. And so one thing that they came up with an upgrade for is this speaker. So I ordered it from them. It's got a plastic cone. It's got a bigger magnet, and it still has the little proprietary connector that Atari used in the Lynx. And so that's really great, because if it didn't, I would have to unsolder the connector off the old speaker, put it on this one. So the speaker is louder and sounds better, and so it's great. You can hear things, details in the music and the sound effects that you couldn't hear before, and I really like that. So it sounds great. The picture's great. It's a nice device. Oh yeah, while I was inside the thing, like I said, it runs off 5 volts. So there's a few ways of making a 5 volt power supply modification. I went with this. There's a capacitor in here, C41. You can connect a USB cable to it. The red part of the cable goes to the positive end of that capacitor. The black end of the cable goes to the negative. I think that's true. That's what makes sense to me in what I remember. And so I just ran it out through the battery compartment here. I do have the battery cover, but I don't use it because I have this little connector coming out, just a USB, which then I can plug into a power bank, which is excellent. Or I can run through a USB extension cable to a jack and plug it into the wall. That works too. So that's doing great. So I've got a couple of these. This is an old one. I'm sure I could. There are newer ones. There are ones that will contain a much bigger charge, but this one does well. I've got a couple of them. I keep them in my case. Oh, by the way, this is the Atari Lynx case. Yeah, so that's my Atari Lynx. I've got games. Building my collection. I'm not buying everything. There are some games I just don't care about, but I'm trying to get the ones that seem fun to me. So I got Slime World. I got Bill and Ted. Zarlor Mercenary. Road Blasters. Paperboy. I remember playing Paperboy at the arcade growing up, so it was a must-have. This is Electro Cop. Batman Returns. Warbirds. Clacks. Finally, California Games. California Games was the first pack-in game that came with the Lynx. I don't know, this particular Lynx, I don't know what came with it, if it came with a game or not. But originally they would come with California Games. I had this game for the Atari 2600, loved it as a kid. Just a good, solid game. And so when I bought the Lynx, the store also had this for $8. So I was very happy to get this. And I always come back to California Games. I'm not that great at it, but it's a good game. So finally, I got one of these things. This is a BennVenn El Cheapo SD cartridge. Got a little slot in there. I don't know if you can see that. There it is. For an SD card. So you can put ROM files on here and use this right in the back here of your Lynx, and you can play all the games you want. I'm a stickler for only playing games that I perceive as legal. You can download the entire collection, pirated style, but I just play the games that I actually own the cartridges for. So I put those on here, plus all the homebrews. There's lots of homebrews for the Atari Lynx. Some are better than others. Some are just kind of demos, don't do much. But this has been really cool. Very cool. Much easier than switching cartridges in and out. You can just put this in here and leave it and have your entire collection there. So this is great. It's great. Trying to think of what else. I think I'll just put a game in, California games, and plug it up right here. Let's see if we have a game. There it is. Alright, that's my Atari Lynx. I don't know how well that video came out of the actual screen, but it looks good. So thank you very much, and have a great day.